Good evening, Jacket Nation. Welcome to Catch a Buzz. My name is Ryan King. I'm here with my brother and co-host Sean King, and we're here to just give you 24/7 coverage of your Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. A little bit of background on us. Grew up around the city of Atlanta, lifelong Jacket fans. Moved down to Tampa a couple years ago. So that meant we were fortunate enough to go to watch Tech give UCF a little bit of a beatdown this past year in the bowl game to give us our first winning season since 2018. I think that got both of us pretty excited for what was to come this year. So I think the way that we're going to start this video out, we're just going to give you a little bit of our thoughts, backtrack a little bit, and tell you how we were feeling coming into this season. From there, we will kind of break down the first couple weeks of the season, and then we'll give a little bit of a preview for the Syracuse game coming up this Saturday. Big game. Because as of today, the Jackets are ranked for the first time since 2015, 23rd in the country, according to the AP poll. So regardless of how you feel about rankings at this time of year, it's still a very big moment in the program for Brent Key and the boys. So
The wait is finally over.
It is finally over.
The wait is finally over.
It was a long, hard 9 years, but Key has done a remarkable job turning things around. So with that being said, I think I'm just going to go ahead and kick it to Sean and kind of let's just hear your thoughts on where your head was at the end of last season coming into this season. I think as Tech fans, we all were pretty positive, but just still kind of waiting to see him prove it out there.
Yeah, so obviously I'll backtrack a little bit to the previous season with the last guy because he likes to call us the last place in his interview, so I'll give him the same treatment there. But no, we all know how that worked out. Key came in, did a remarkable job week one of his tenure, being a ranked Pitt team. Finished 4-4 that year, and then going into that season, I had high hopes. Key being a new head coach, working offensive line, working under O'Leary, Saban, other coaches. I mean, you could tell the record was there. It was just whether or not he was going to be able to put it together. Being a Tech alumni, you had to feel pretty good. Someone who knows the culture, the values, the tradition. As you can see after the games, how he's got everybody singing the fight song, even if all the players don't know it.
I love seeing that.
He's he's installing it. But no, just like you said, after the UCF game, you felt good. Although I will say, I don't remember much of it. After being down 14-0, had to go get a few tall boys from the concessions. But no, all that matters was the end. Came out with the victory. Had high hopes coming into this season. Ton of starters returning. Of course, most everybody offense, receivers. Got a good dual threat quarterback in Haynes King and Jamal Haynes in the back, Haynes and Haynes. Coaching staff, Buster Faulkner in his first year, had an amazing start. Good game plan, kind of a pro style offense. And then Key goes out and gets Tyler Santucci under the Mike Elko tree. Now, you didn't know if this defense was going to be able to turn it around in 1 year. Usually you don't.
You certainly didn't expect it.
You didn't. And, there's still questions there as to.
Not a complete turnaround.
Correct. There's still questions there after seeing, what the Seminoles have done the past 2 weeks, although they were ranked 10 when we played them. So you got to take that into consideration. Although they're definitely not the same team as they were a year ago. But yeah, I mean, D-line against Florida State looked as good as you possibly could after coming off a year where you're ranked 130th in rush defense. And, if you can hold them to, was it under 100 yards? Something
98
about
yards,
90,
60,
98 yards.
Something of which were on that opening drive.
Yeah.
So, I mean, absolutely shut down from that point forward.
So it looks like he's made some great hires all around. I think there's only 2 or 3 guys left from the last guy's um, staff.
He drove them all
So
out of
you
town.
can
Anybody that
so
was
you can tell he's come
worth an
in.
argument.
You've got Jay back coming in from Bama. He's done an amazing job.
Doesn't get enough love, I don't think.
He doesn't. He doesn't, especially the recruiting we're getting nowadays. I think we're finally in the top 20. I don't know how long.
And
Um,
in today's world, that is not possible without a little
correct. And
money getting pumped into the program. So
our fan
Pat's
base
done an
has
incredible job fundraising.
our fan base has enough money. It's just all going to books, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but not when you're a massive sports fan like we are. You want to see your team succeed, and it's just has not been that since Paul Johnson.
Yeah.
And although he was a successful coach, triple option did get old after 12 years of running it and getting crapped on by all your buddies. Um, but no, can't say enough good things about he and what he's done here so far. Um, didn't really have I had high hopes, but at the same time, it was more of I had to see him play. I didn't know
Yeah.
if the offense was gonna get better, if they're gonna retract, what was gonna happen. And then obviously defense, there's only one way to go from where we were. And through 2 games, it looks like we're getting there. Although against Georgia State, I mean, couldn't really get pressure, but you can't help it when they're throwing. He's getting the ball out in 1.5, 2 seconds, um, getting to his receiver. So the stat line may not there. We'll see this week against Syracuse.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's kind of my
I
thoughts.
think Syracuse is gonna be a really good test, a really good litmus test to kind of see where the Jackets are standing at this point in the season. We don't have the greatest record in recent history when it comes to getting ranked in the games following that. So thankfully I do have full faith in Key to really instill it in these players that ranking, that number next to their name means absolutely nothing unless they go out on the field and show that they deserve it. So I
That's
think
what I was
that
kind of. That's what I was kind of gonna say. Is You can just tell in his interviews he's not here for the bull crap.
no,
He's not. I feel like he's got our players the right way. Last year we probably would have came out and made that Georgia State game a lot closer than it should have been. Although we tried to in the first half, but came away with a late second touchdown there at the end. Um,
I think even
but
that drive shows a lot of growth. I mean, it's the type of possession that in years past you may not convert into any points. You may try to play conservative, and it just allows them to hang around longer than they should. Uh, an inferior opponent in Georgia State. Um, I know a lot of people tried to make it seem like they had any chance in that game, but
yeah, and I
uh,
mean you don't want to go in there thinking that they're not going to show up because they're going to do anything to win that game. And all props to Georgia State. They played well.
they did.
I think they're a very well coached team. Um, but I
Yeah,
think
I
that's
actually wanted
just
to. I did want to give them props. I think THWg is was a great hire for them, especially coming in, you know, in the middle of spring practice the way he did. Um, Brought in 40 something new guys in the portal. Even to come out there and compete for a half against a team like Tech, I think is a testament to what he's already doing there. So I think that they're going to be in the next couple of years. They can be a very good Group of Five team. I know he's a great recruiter, coming from that school out east, but he's already
agreed.
got a lot of guys committed there. So I think their future's bright. They just weren't ready to play under the bright lights of Bobby Dodd just yet. But
Yeah. And
I
also props to the fans as well. I mean, I know some of the seats up top weren't all filled, but I mean, 40,000 in Bobby Dodd, you haven't seen that in a while. And I mean, even for a team like Georgia State, although, they are 1.5 miles away from Bobby Dodd, um,
there
you just
wasn't a
haven't
lot of
really
state
seen,
fans.
you just haven't seen that in years past.
Yeah. Big props to the students for showing up. I know I've read that they've completely sold out their student season tickets.
That's
I will
awesome.
say something that they need to clean up. Down there in the south end zone for the entire first quarter, the seats were empty, and I read that there was something going on with security having issues. The students weren't able to get in, and that's
But like
completely unacceptable.
too strict on security.
That they are, I'm not positive what it was. All I know is that it was down there in the south end zone. You could notice it on the broadcast because the rest of the stadium was relatively full. You look at the south end zone, there's a tiny little group in the top couple rows, and then it's just completely empty. You could tell that clearly the tickets had been bought, but for whatever reason, the students weren't there. And I also read that there was a couple five-star basketball recruits uh, that were supposed to be sitting down there that might have gotten held up in that too. So that's
Really?
it's a very bad look, and I really hope that that Jay Bad is well aware of that situation and is gets that cleared up for games going forward.
Especially when you
So
know
I
it's
don't know
about
what
to be
that's all
game
about.
time.
Yeah, and it clearly wasn't something where it was people just getting there late because the seats were just empty. There wasn't anybody there. So clearly there was an issue getting into the stadium. I mean, you can't have that. It's the first home game of the year, and you're right along the end zone. You're right next to the visiting fans. You don't want empty seats right there. You didn't have empty seats there if they were able to get in on time. So, uh, but that's just an aside. Um, no, I think coming into this year, I was feeling really good about the season. I mean, I think from the moment that Key was introduced as the interim, I watched him give his press conference, and it's kind of hard to put into any words other than this guy's a football coach. That's all you can really think when you listen to him talk. It's like that. That's what this guy is. He's a football player. He's a football coach, and as you have said previously, I couldn't be happier with the job he's done. I mean, I never expected him to get this program to where they're at now already. If you had told me after that UCF game 2.5 years ago that Tech was going to be ranked at this time, I would have laughed in your face. Uh, it was unfathomable from
And
where we
look,
were at that point to where we are now.
props to them for firing Collins mid-season. I mean, it took him
And
way too long, in
Stansbury,
my
since he
opinion,
decided
but
to attach himself at the hip to that absolute
yeah,
buffoon.
yeah.
Uh,
So props to them and props to sticking with Key after his interim year. I mean, there were
Thank God we didn't hire Willie Fritz or something like that.
Willie Fritz. Where's he at? Nebraska or
I think he stayed at
where'd he
Tulane.
go? Oh, Tulane.
I think he just stayed there. Thank God. I mean, when you when you've got a guy like I think he made the decision pretty easy on the donors, administration, whoever's making those high level decisions, high level, elite,
Elite.
whoever's making those decisions. I think you know, you come in 8 games, win more games than Collins won in a season his entire career. It makes it with 2 ranked wins. It makes it pretty easy to go with them, especially for the money that you're getting them at. And that's also pretty
Right.
nice. Allows you to pay some great coordinators to come in and run both sides of the ball for you. But um,
As long as we can keep him.
that's the big thing. And when it comes to that too, I think it's just kind of a reality that you're going to lose. You know, guys like Buster Faulkner, they come in, they're clearly one of the best coordinators in the country. Just a great offensive mind. It probably won't be long before he's a head coach somewhere. Excuse me. I
The
just
thing is,
I really trust Key to bring in someone else to replace him. I
right.
trust the staff to make the right decision when you've got guys leaving. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the goal. You want to have coaches that are so good that other programs are trying to poach them. So,
Right. And
um,
it also helps with recruiting when you see that you have a good coordinator on your side of the ball, you bring them in and then, start to create a, you know, constant success in your team, and then establish yourself as an actual power team, and you'll have recruits. Now you'll be the logo team. You're not just
Yep.
you know
And I
the
think that
bystander.
you're starting to, that's not just a hypothetical at this point. I mean, you're starting to see that in reality with the commitments of Petty, 5-star, first 5-star in program history, Christian Garrett flipping from Georgia to Tech.
Georgia.
The recruits are taking notice, and we've already got a lot of recruits in this class. It's sitting top 20 right now. But you keep playing like this, I mean, the class is going to be far from done improving. So, and I think that that's all it boils down to, and it's all that Key preaches really. Win consistently, and that's kind of where this program is at this point. You just have to win consistently. You've got to go and win the games that you're supposed to win. We did that last week against Georgia State. Was not your prettiest game by any stretch of the imagination, but you still cover. You take out Georgia State, and now you're a
Three-score
road
game
favorite.
too.
What's that?
3-score game too. I mean, it's not like it was
game.
a 10.5 spread. I mean, it definitely wasn't our best ball. It wasn't pretty, but whenever you're able to cover a 20.5 point spread, you can't
The
really
team's
be
playing
upset
great teams
about too
cover.
much.
Yeah.
So
Now, I guess kind of from where I guess I started the season, that I was in the same boat as a lot of Tech fans were. I think you feel like the team's going to be much improved, but you've got one of the toughest schedules in the nation. So your expectations have to be a little reserved. Yeah, my prediction was 7-5, and that was me predicting the Florida State win too. So um, that was me being conservative. But I just felt that we matched up really well against them, just with what they were losing, and uh, you know, we've seen DJU play, even though he played some good games against Tech. It's he's not some world beater, so I felt pretty good going into that game. But outside of that, you've got it was a very hard schedule. So I mean, I was predicting 7-5, but then what I wasn't expecting in the Florida State game. I mean, when you and I were talking about the game leading up to it, I predicted 38-35. I thought Tech would win in a shootout. The last thing I expected was to see Tech win a slugfest and
you
just
got the difference.
absolutely bully them on both sides of the ball. So I think that's been the biggest surprise to me so far, is just how dominant Tech has been on the lines of scrimmage this year. We knew the O line was going to be good, but the D line has been great. The front seven on the defense has been great.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you're
Uh,
bringing in 4 out of 5 starters on the O line. You've got 2 people at left guard. I think Joe Fusel and Harrison Moore, who have both been very good. I think Fusel is getting the start right now, or are they splitting snaps?
Fusal's definitely been getting a start.
Um, but there's not too much to worry on the offensive side of the ball. But I mean, on the defensive side of the ball, you go get Romello Height. You get what's his name? Yoon
Well, Sylvain was coming back from injury.
Sylvain.
Yeah,
Sylvain.
that was
You
big.
get Sylvain back from injury. He showed himself. He's another big body. Obviously, you got Zeke up on the line, who's proven himself last year. Then you go get guys like Mari Harvey, who's already shown himself to be a very good corner for us, especially in open space tackling. And
That
you
hit
know,
against Georgia State was vicious.
oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, what a big stop in that game as well. They're
Yeah.
about to score a touchdown and put the pressure on us and show them that they're here to play. And you make one play like that, and that changes the whole aspect of the game.
Yep.
And
Yep. And
then who else?
I think a big unsung hero was Warren Burrell out there
Warren Burrell.
on the
Yep.
other side of the field. I think he might have said in one of his press conferences, you've had a good game as a cornerback when your name's not in the stat sheet.
Yep. No balls thrown
So,
to you.
yeah, no one's throwing his way. He made a couple big tackles against Georgia State as well. They're just a good team.
You know who I did like? I liked Rodney Shelley. He had a hiccup earlier in the game, but then he came back and actually made some great tackles down the stretch. And I think
Got
he
knocked
might
out of his
be,
socks against Florida State.
yeah, yeah. I think he is he return man too?
Yeah, he's the one he didn't call fair catch against Florida State.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But no, he had a great return against State. He's been playing good on defense. He's
Just
definitely been one of
just
those
shows
unsung
you
heroes.
just shows you what the transfer portal can do. I mean, you get all these guys on a defense that was just depleted last year.
Yep.
After a year where we really weren't too bad with Charlie Thomas, A. Sealy, and um, others with that linebacker core. But let's talk about Kyle Eifert, the old juggernaut on our team. You've seen him going around on Twitter and
On neck pad.
YouTube in the rules, and that dude can play.
Yes, he can. He's I think he's definitely the anchor of the defense. As other people have said, he's not the most athletic guy you're ever going to see, but he just knows where to be. He finds the
Right.
ball. He finds a way to make plays. He's
And I
fun to
think
watch.
last year, I mean, I know he was our leading tackler, and I think he missed 4 games as well.
I think the first four
Um,
games. Yeah.
but I mean, the reason linebackers looked so bad last year was because I think our defensive line just, weren't fitting the right gaps, weren't, doing their assignments, and it ended up screwing over the linebackers, and it was just, it was not good,
And I think that that
to
is
put it
where
politely.
I think that that is where you have to give Santucci a lot of credit. He has clearly come in and just purely from a cerebral side of the game, he has got those guys in such better positions than they were last year under Thacker and Shear. Um, I mean, your D line, it feels like they're always in the right spot. And you know that that's the case because you notice when they're not. Like I know that we were watching the Georgia State game, and there was one play early where the D line shifted to the right, and they were running counter back the other way. Basically, took themselves out of the play from the start. The D line did, and it went for a big gain. And you notice when that happens because even though it's only been 2 games, it doesn't happen a lot. So Santucci has done absolute wonders for this team. I mean, it's only been 2 games, as we've said. We'll keep saying, but it cannot be understated the job that he's done already. Just to really help the offense, it allows the offense to go out there and just run it down your throats and take 6, 7, 8 minutes off the clock
Exactly.
because the defense isn't going to give up anything crazy. Um,
Like I
but
said,
with
I
that
mean,
being,
I still like to see more out of the defense. I mean, it's only been 2 games, and you think they bowed up against Florida State, but just really sucks seeing Florida State crap the bed, and that they're not going to be a good team this year, more than likely.
it is
Just
unfortunate.
it raises unnecessary questions that you don't want to think about, but at the same time, we did have
Yeah,
one of the worst defenses in all of college football last year.
especially rushing. So I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it didn't matter who we played last year, how bad they were. They ran it all over us. So um, even though Florida State is clearly going to be taking a big drop off from where they were at last year, I still think it's impressive to hold them the way that we did. And I guess the AP voters feel that way as well because the Jackets are back in the rankings. Um, but with that being said, I think I kind of want to pivot towards the future now. What we have coming up specifically this week, big game against Syracuse on the road, in the Carrier Dome. I don't even know what they call it now, but I'm gonna keep calling it the Carrier Dome. Um, Tech is opening as I believe a 2.5 point favorite on the road. Uh, check. I don't know the last time that was. I think it was back in 2019 or 20 or something. The last time that we were a road favorite. Um,
Yeah,
and I think historically we aren't great as road favorites, but Syracuse conveniently is also not a great home underdog. So uh, I guess you can kind of throw those things out the window. But yeah, Sean, I just want to toss it to you and hear your thoughts early in the week here on this game against Syracuse? Big one, ACC game.
So obviously, big game. You're 2-0 going into this game. You just got ranked 23rd in country. Obviously, you need to be in the right mindset that stay physical, stay flying around the field, and just stay locked in. I think that's a big part of this game. Don't let numbers get you know give you a big head. Just listen to your coaching staff and listen to what they're trying to preach to you, and go out there and play the physical ball you've been playing, especially on the line. I think big thing. I mean, I didn't watch any of the Syracuse game, but I think they have Ohio State's old QB
Yeah, McCord,
McCord.
Kyle McCord.
Um, I think I heard he was flat a little bit to start, and then I think he ended up throwing for over 350.
Yeah, he had
Um,
4 touchdowns. He had a good game, but it's
so
Ohio.
this is it. It was against Ohio. So this is a game where I do want to see the D line step up. I would like to see a couple sacks. I'd like to see him fill gaps. I'd like to see linebackers make tackles, drive them back. As for the offense, I want to see it run the ball. I mean, I think the running back for Ohio ran for 270, although he was like 6'5", 250
Yeah,
or something. Like he was a bowling ball. It's definitely a different beast than the Cheetah Haynes, 5'9", 175. So it's definitely going to be a switch up for him, but I think we can run the ball as best as anyone. I know we were first in the ACC last year, probably a top 10 in all college football. So I think that's your strength. I think you got to play to your strengths in a game like this where you're, coming in, you finally have a week of game film to go off of. Those first 2 weeks were a little weird, and didn't really have anything on Florida State. They were all coming in basically a brand new team. You didn't really know what they were going to run, what they were going to do with DJ. Same with last week, 40 transfers. I mean, just not really much to go on other than go out, play your best ball, and hope for the best. But yeah, I
yeah.
mean,
I mean,
this week I just want to
the
see you
three
run the
Florida
ball.
State fans out there didn't know who was on their team. Go
Yeah,
ahead. They didn't even know
yeah.
who was playing. So I mean, yeah, there's no film. But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But
No, yeah, exactly. But I mean, you would like to see Haynes start slinging the ball more and get the receivers more out in space, but I think that'll come. You're still trying to establish your identity, and I think that right now, as you running the football, it's proven to be a lot of you know a liability to other teams. So I think you just stick on that. I mean, although you do have studs out on the receiving end, I would like to see Leo Blackburn get some more touches. He's a big body. You could probably throw the ball to. I know he was hurt. I don't really know the extent of his injury, how far he's come back, but I know he has been getting some snaps. And then obviously Eric Singleton, Chase Lane, um, Malik Rutherford, Christian O'Leary. I mean, you're stacked on the outside with speed. I would like to see some big bodies, but how about Avery Boyd? I'm very, very interested in Mr. Boyd. I mean,
very pleasant surprise.
that dude looks like he's running a 4.40 with 50 more pounds added
He
to
looks
him
like he's
in the
running
off season.
280 running a 4.4.
Yeah,
He looks
so
enormous.
he's definitely a scary dude. Um, I know after last year, losing Leonard and then unfortunately losing Cedar at the beginning of this year, that was a big, position where we probably wanted to see guys step up. And Boyd and Haas. I mean, Haas, he doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but that man has done more for Tech in these two
He
weeks
blocks
than I
his
think people
ass off.
realize. That man, I don't know if he's missed a block.
No, it's incredible to watch. I mean, when you've got him in the tackle pulling, it's nobody is stopping it. I mean, he always knows exactly where to be. He's blowing people up. I mean, it is pancake block after pancake block.
Yep,
He is, in my opinion, he's probably the biggest unsung hero on the team so far. Um,
agreed.
he has been an enormous pickup for Tech. So I think that I 100% agree about this Syracuse game. the one thing that has me licking my chops a little bit is their rushing defense. I think it was 203 yards to that one running back, and then 70 more to other people. Um, I heard a stat earlier today that that primary back, I think his last name was Tyus, Anthony Tyus.
Yeah, and something ties.
Yeah, he was averaging over 7 yards after contact against Syracuse. So to me, it seems like they have an issue bringing people to the ground. Uh, once even if they're in a position to make a play, and if we've seen anything out of Jamal Haynes, is that he knows how to make people miss after embarrassing Lundy in that corner on that big final drive against Florida State, and then that first or second drive against Georgia State. I mean, he had a dude
Yeah,
pick up
back
his
to back
jock strap.
games, he's made he's made
Yeah, dude was
highlight
picking up his
reels.
jock strap. So um, it's a very different back, but I feel like they're going to struggle with him. I mean, I think Jamal Haynes is one of the best running backs in the country. So I know that Tyus dude's a big boy, and I'm sure he's a great running back. I didn't really watch much of the game, but um, I think they're really going to struggle with this run game. Um,
I
and
did
the thing
see
is, Tech. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I did see Trey Cool. He's back to second on the depth chart, so I
I
believe
did.
he might be back this week.
That was a good sign. I hope he's back. Excuse me. I think I had heard that he was in concussion protocol. So,
Yeah,
which
he
I
got
think
his
is 2 weeks.
absolute rocker knocked on the very first play
That opening
in
kickoff.
Ireland. Uh,
Yeah.
it did not look good.
No, but I think that it was concussion protocol. I think you're out a minimum of 2 weeks if you go into concussion protocol. So I think that that's what it was.
So, what
I'm
do they
hoping that
count
Chad
that Florida
Alexander.
State game?
Well, yeah, it must. It was a week of Florida State, and then you have another full week after the Georgia State game. So
Yeah,
I guess you're good
yeah.
by the next Saturday. Um, I'm hoping Chad Alexander's okay. He was grabbing his shoulder. I know that we thought it might have been a collarbone, but I mean, it could have just been a stinger.
Yeah, because that's how I
Um,
broke mine. I was
yeah,
doing some Oklahoma drills, and you don't really, you're not really in a ton of pain,
you got the adrenaline pumping and
per
everything.
se, but you've got, you can definitely feel something's wrong, and it's not as painful as one would think, but from my vantage point, watching from the TV, it didn't look great. But
Yeah, I really hope that it's not that. You want to talk about a pleasant surprise? I mean, he's been incredible the first 2 weeks coming in behind Haynes and the limited carries that he's gotten. So, I really hope he's okay. I hope he's healthy this week. But if not, I hope he gets back soon.
now you got
Anthony
Anthony
Carey had a
Carey.
great run too. Yep, Carey had a great run. Couple just solid runs in general. So I'm not too worried about running back depth there. But I think that that's really just going to be your key to success. Your O line just needs to bully them up front, and you just need to run it down their throats, and keep the ball out of McCord's hands. Don't let their offense get going. Um, and really, I think you should pretty much be able to control the game if their defense really does struggle that much against the run. So, and the thing is, I feel like if they're going to sell out trying to stop the run, they're going to be left exposed for the pass game. And Tech has no issue slinging the ball around with Haynes and all the depth we have at receiver. So, I think it's kind of a double-edged sword for the Orange, but
And I think for the most part, Haynes just looked good passing the
yeah,
rock, other than that one, throw he probably shouldn't have thrown. It would have been nice
yeah,
to just see him chuck it out of bounds or throw it at the feet. But I mean, through 2 games, 1 pick, it's better than, averaging 1.5. So
yeah. I think that that's another one of the big keys to the game is just protecting the ball. Don't give them free possessions, especially deep in your own territory. You just want to play smart football, bully them, and just walk out of there with a win. And if that's the case, then you've got VMI, and as long as you take care of business there, you have a huge matchup against a likely undefeated Louisville team. And at that point, probably two pretty highly ranked teams. It's going to be I think that if you get through Syracuse and VMI clean, then that's going to be your real test for how the rest of the season is going to go, is how you perform in Louisville against Cardinals.
And we're hungry to, get back against the Cards and make make peace with last year's,
And
embarrassing
second line collapse.
opening loss. So um but yeah, I mean let's take a look at this schedule.
Yeah, go ahead and pull it up. It's certainly, after you get through the VMI game, it doesn't get much easier from here. You've got Syracuse, VMI, and then you really get into some it gets tough. If Louisville wins their next game, you're probably looking at a
Oh, yeah,
top
so
20
Louisville
Louisville
did
team.
jump up.
Yeah, you're looking at a top 20 Louisville team against an at least top 20 Tech team if they beat Syracuse and VMI.
It's better
Duke
than
and Carolina.
Louisville's two nobody win teams.
Yeah. Yeah, Duke, you know, I think Manny Diaz was a good hire. I don't think that they
I
shouldn't be
don't think they're
competing with
there
Tech
yet.
this year.
They just
Carolina, you
lost
better beat
Elko.
the absolute brakes off of with old Jeff on the sideline. I know Sean and I enjoy watching our buddy Rec talk rip Jeff a new one every chance he gets. The last guy, excuse me.
I really wouldn't be surprised if North Carolina goes into that game 2-5
Oh, it wouldn't
or two
surprise me
and
one bit.
four.
Wouldn't surprise me one bit. I mean, Minnesota's terrible. That shouldn't even have been a game if Carolina was going to be worth a crap. So, um, really the only game on your schedule that gives you a little bit of pause is going to be that Louisville game. And then if you take care of business there, you're looking at what, 4, 5, 7-0 going into Notre Dame. I mean, that would be
You're looking at a
there's
top
potential for that to
15
happen.
versus a top 5 team, probably, unless Notre Dame craps the bed, somewhere along the way. I don't think I
Right.
think we might be their lowest percentage to win
We
on
definitely might be. I
on the
mean,
rest of the
you
schedule. It's
and
I'll tell you who it's not. It's not the old crybaby Knowles.
no, it is not. No, it is not. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get on here and say that I fully believe we're going to be 7-0 going into Notre Dame, just because I don't know if I can be that confident yet, at least until December. How we see how we perform against Syracuse.
I still think I don't want to, but I still think we're going to lose a game we shouldn't lose, whether it be Syracuse, Duke, or North Carolina. I think we
Yeah,
dropped one of those games.
yeah.
I'm really hoping it's not this week after we just got ranked. But that's not going to happen.
No, that it just added one more thing onto this week. You perform you perform great against Florida State. You come home, don't have. I mean, you have some drop off against Georgia State, but it doesn't matter. You still cover the three score spread. But this
But
Syracuse
you
one is going to
expect it.
be your biggest. I mean, their fans are going to be really excited. They've got McCord. They've got a brand new head coach. It's a dome. It's going to be loud. You really you need to go in there and just shut them up quick. You need to take control of that game and never let go. And I think that if you do that, I mean, you have VMI next and then enormous game against Louisville. And I think that Louisville game is kind of, as I said, it's going to tell you how the rest of the season's going to go. If you take care of business there, if you find a way to do that at Louisville, I mean, you're going to be pushing You're going to be pushing being ranked top 10, and you're going to have everything in front of you from that point forward.
See, just the
Uh,
thing that scares me though, Georgia State, I mean, obviously they watched the Florida State game and they just saw us run. They, To start the game, it was stack the box, stack the box, stack the box. We're not going to let them run on us. And to an extent, it worked in that first half, but I think we made some changes coming out the second half, kind of got the passing game going, had that just shows that busted coverage on the deep ball. I think that honestly had to do with a little bit of the run and, selling out on the run. And, that's what happens when, you get good teams, good quarterbacks, they can make those type of plays and hurt you.
Yep.
But yeah, I think, like I said, I think to start the year, I had us going 5-2, best case scenario to start the year. I did not think we were going to be Florida State. I bought into all the lies.
Yep.
But yeah, I think I had us 1-1, beating Syracuse 2-1, beating BMI 3-1, and then losing to Louisville 3-2, and then beating Duke in North Carolina.
Yeah,
Which
I'm trying to remember exactly what I had. I had us beating Florida State, beating Georgia State, beating Syracuse VMI. I had us losing to Louisville, um, beating Duke, beating North Carolina. I might have had us losing to North Carolina. I can't remember.
it's
Because I
it's it's a possibility, and I don't want it to because for obvious reasons. But
yeah. Um,
uh,
yeah, that game is definitely marked on the schedule as
I
a
think it
please
is
beat
a.
the brakes off this team type of game. I
I think it is a game we can lose because now that we're the probably going to be the favorite after
We're gonna
being
have
the
the target
underdog
on
for
our
the
back.
last 4 years and beating them the last 4 years in a row.
At least 3 or 4 years
Um,
in a row, and I think we've beat them 19 out of 25 times.
yeah.
But we own Carolina, just like we own Florida State.
hmm
No one should have been surprised about that win, by the way. Hence why I
So
picked
after
us.
North Carolina, you run into this gauntlet. Now, this gauntlet doesn't seem as bad of a gauntlet as you saw VT go down to Vanderbilt and
Yep.
NC State struggle against Western
Western Carolina,
Carolina.
the Catamounts.
So those two look a little better. Again, you can't believe all the hype you hear in the offseason. Old Pat McAfee has Virginia Tech winning the ACC. How'd that
Well,
work out
that went
for you,
down the
brother?
drain real quick, Pat.
So yeah, you look at that. If you go into this 7-0, you better finish this season 9-3.
That's kind of where my head is at with this season at this point.
If you go into this
I
7-0.
I think Tech is going to go 9-3 this year. That's kind of where I'm at. I think that you drop. I think that you drop the Notre Dame game. As much as I hate to say it, because I despise Notre Dame and touchdown Jesus. Um, I can't stand them, but the entire time that I've been on this earth, Tech has gotten their doors blown off by Notre Dame the couple times that we've played. So, as much as I really want to predict a win, God, look at that cupcake schedule. Are you kidding me?
So it's basically just Louisville, us, and USC.
I'd be predicting us to go 12-0 if we had that schedule.
Uh,
Um, but yeah, I mean Notre Dame. It's I can't predict us to win that game right now. Um, Virginia
I
Tech, I
also have
feel
to
a
see
whole lot
more out of
better
them.
about. Miami is going to be really tough. I think that's going to be the homecoming game at Bobby Dodd. It should be absolutely electric.
So I think we may make an appearance too, if I'm not
Yep, we
mistaken.
were talking today about maybe making the trip up to Atlanta to get to that game. Um, so we're going to be trying to get that into the works, but that's going to be a real tough one. Miami looked great this past week against Florida. I mean, Florida's a dumpster fire, but uh, it's still a great win. Cam Ward looks like he might be a Heisman contender by the end of the season, but they look great. NC State, as we said, underwhelming performance this opening week, but it's week
Now,
one.
now, now, the score did not reflect that game. They
No, it
they
absolutely
they
did not.
kind of pulled away with it at the end, and they still had their starters in against Western Carolina. So that just goes to show you how that game ended up.
Yeah, yeah. So that's another one. It's kind of a wait and see what they do for the next few weeks. But then and then you've got the big one in Sanford Stadium. It's, to be fair, it's the only place that we know how to beat the DWAG. So uh, it could be it. That could be a very fun one by the end of the year, depending on how the rest of the season plays out for the Jackets. But
It could.
um,
Georgia's got a decently tough. Look, I
yeah,
would
they do.
love for
Tough schedule.
Georgia to be going in undefeated and us ruin their season. I've also been hoping for that the last 3 seasons, and
They will be
past 2 years.
far and away the number one team if they're undefeated, because they're playing Bama, they're playing Texas.
Yep.
I don't know if they're playing Ole Miss or not, but very tough schedule. Um,
Boy, would I love to ruin
a
their
lot of
little
games they
party.
can lose. What's that?
Said, boy, would I love to ruin their little party. Their
That would
little
be great.
inbred party.
Yeah, send them ducking back into the tunnel, licking their nads.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, at least as it stands right now, I think that Tech can 100% go 9-3 at least. I think that is well within the realm of possibility with the way that they played the first couple weeks. I feel like they've still held back a lot on offense, at least when it comes to passing the ball. I don't think Buster, it's crazy to say after playing Florida State, who was at the time a top 10 team, didn't really have to open up the playbook. You didn't have to open up the playbook against Georgia State. Ideally, you don't even have to do it against Syracuse or VMI, and you can kind of keep things in your back pocket until Louisville.
I said just
Um,
test the run. I mean,
yep.
you've got an
If
line
they
who
can't stop it,
can get up
don't
and
stop
pound them in
doing
the
it.
face. Don't stop doing it. You can
Yep.
do it better than almost anybody else in the country. So
Yep.
until they can prove to you that you need to go and switch to a different game plan, then
There's no
don't
need to
shy
go
away
away
from
from
what's
it.
working.
Nope.
But
But
I think a letdown season for me at this point. I don't even want to say 7-5 because it's still an improvement, but at the same time, I think we're a team, that can show people, who we are, who we're going to be, um, and kind of start this dynasty.
might be a little early for the dynasty talk, but I mean, Key
Um,
is doing everything right now. Key, J Bat, the president, Angel Cabrera, everybody is doing everything that they need to in order to allow Tech to be a successful program going forward. And it's showing. It's showing on the field. It's showing on the recruiting trail. And I think that Tech has a very good chance to really make a statement this year to the rest of the nation and the rest of the college football world that, hey, we're here and we're not going anywhere. Um, I think a letdown for me at this point would be 7-5. I think if you go less than, honestly, even going 7-5 might be a little bit of a letdown, but as you said, it's still an improvement on a much harder schedule. So it depends on the games that you lose as well. If
correct.
you lose to Syracuse and then you beat one of the Notre Dame, Miami, or Georgias, then it's kind of annoying. But um, if you avoid those losses that you shouldn't lose, and you get one of those 3 wins, then you're looking at 9-3, and or well, technically, I guess that would be 10-2, but not realistically. I think 9-3 is what you can shoot for to be
Definitely
very
more
positive
than
as a
within
Tech
the
fan.
realm of possibility.
100%. I think once you get to 10 wins, you might be pushing it a little bit, but I think 9 wins is, as you said, is not out of the realm of possibility. And I fully believe this team is capable of doing it as long as they stay focused, look at it one week one week at a time and just go out there and bully people every single week. That's what Keys
Agreed.
instilled in them. That's the culture of this team, and I see no reason that they can't do that every single week and compete against the best teams in the country.
And that's all I want to see. I just want to see us compete.
Yep.
Especially against the Notre Dames. I don't want to see 45-0 or 63-3 or it's just I I want to say we're past that at this point and that we're headed in a different direction where even if we during the game we do we're struggling to find something either defense can make a play or offense can make a big splash and we can get ourselves back in it and make something out of it even if we are it seems like we're out of it in the past feel like we'd fold and
Yep.
I don't think that's what Key's instilling in this team. I think it's you know it's definitely a bend don't break, especially on the defensive side, which I think it's definitely showed against Georgia State. And I think it's hit them in the mouth, see if they hit back harder, type of team. And um, I'm just really excited for what this team's to bring this year and, you know, for what's to come.
I couldn't agree more. Um, I think we'll probably make one more video giving a little more in-depth breakdown of the Syracuse game. We'll
This
go
is kind
back
of
and
just our welcome to YouTube video.
exactly. We just kind of wanted to give you a little background, our thoughts on the tech program, where things are at, where we think things are going. Um, but yeah, going forward, we plan on posting very actively, week by week. You know, following the team through the season and giving you our thoughts on how they played, how we think they're going to play going into from game to game. But yeah, I think we'll probably try to make another video going a little more in depth on Syracuse, where we think Tech can exploit them, some weaknesses that we think Syracuse can get after Tech on. Um, and I think we'll just go from there.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah, I'd expect to hear from us from a lot this season. You can find us here on Catch and Buzz. And other than that, I believe we'll see y'all next time.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody tuning in. If you want to toss us a like just to kind of get this channel kicked off, we'd really appreciate it. And we hope that you follow along with us for the rest of the season and from that point forward. You got anything else
Go
to add, John?
Jackets.
Go Jackets, baby.
Go Jackets.